Hey, what's up, guys? This is T-Bone here, and welcome to another stream. And today we're going to be talking about the upcoming light commander event, The End of Time. And I just wanted to say hi to everybody. I'm a few minutes late to the stream, so I appreciate those of you who stuck around and are patiently waiting. So we got Ethan, Michael, and Gary, as well as John, Tamara, Brian, and also Heath, Judge of All. And also we got Derek, Johnny Tables, Karamudin, Ben Rutherford, as well as Kiko, and Li Pui Hua. Welcome to the stream. So, I also have somebody who you are pretty familiar with joining me for a stream today. I kind of think that it's a lot of fun to bring on guests every once in a while, and maybe just kind of, maybe a regular thing for our event preview. I kind of think that, there's a good time to get to know the people around the community, and in some cases, we're going to talk to some of our, crowd favorites and whatnot. So what I have for you is MTM in the house. So MTM, why don't you say hi to those people on the stream?
Hi everyone. Hello YouTube T-Bone's show stream people. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to excuse me if if you used to hear me on Game of Zeros. Fury and Cloud edits those so I sound coherent. Um,
Right. Well, as you all know, we do this live here. The way we do it on the stream is we do this live, and so there's no editing. Everything is, as real as it comes. And so what we're going to do is MTM is here. We're going to talk a little about the event itself. We're going to talk about the cards as usual, and I'm going to talk about my personal thoughts on the events that we just went through, the quest system, and what they're thinking about changing for the upcoming event. And so we're gonna deal with all that. And we're also going to talk to MTM about the fact that he's dropping in the leaderboards for the questions. And so, as you can see here, he has dropped out of the top 5, and that is a shameful number, unfortunately. So that is something where, I had to consider really hard whether or not he made the cut to be on the show. But given that he has been on a couple times, I thought that we would just let him be on anyway, and hopefully this is going to be a good, good motivation for him to get cracking. All right, so I'm gonna leave this up here. This is MTM, and you can see his guild is glazed and confused as well. So if you wanted to check his guild, just do a quick shout out there. All right, so let's get right into it, and let's first talk about the cards. And the first thing I'm going to say is this is the 4th time that we've seen this deck mechanic. So we are going to go through the cards and we are going to talk about them, but it should be very familiar to you all. We will also be talking about the differences between this deck and the previous decks, and also kind of what's different and whether or not this is better or worse compared to what we've seen. So we're going to take a look at the Master Collection card here first. Janus Futures Past is a light God card. Now what I like about the God cards is that we've had several iterations of God cards in the past, and so if you've played before, you'll have more God relics. And so that is one thing that's got going for this particular deck. And the battle skill is called Death's Gate, and it creates 3 Light Power Gem Force, and it gets doubled when under the effect of chronology buff. The cooldown is 4 turns, and so it's a little bit lower in the cooldown, but it's pretty much the same skill, except it creates 3 light power gems. And what we're used to seeing with this kind of deck is that normally it created 4, and so when it gets double, you would have created 8, but in this case, it only creates 6 power gem force. And there is also a reality conduit, so every 4th attack will increase the light commander attack by up to 30% for the next turn. And it is a noble killer, so that means it will be applicable against human and elves, and also I forget the other, I think dwarf. I forget the 4th one now. And so
Dwarf is never ever gonna come up.
Dwarf is never gonna come up. So yeah. It's one of those classes that we've seen once or twice before, and that's pretty much it. And so that is the Master Collection card. It is fewer power gems, which makes it weaker in contrast, but it does have fewer turns for it to be activated. I believe it was 5 or 6. I can't remember how many turns before, so the cooldown is reduced. But overall, we've seen this before. I've talked about this in 3 previous streams already, so I am quite familiar with this. In fact, we just had this in the just in the very last Commander event in the Dark one. Okay, so this should be very familiar to any of you who has been playing as well. All right, so let's take a look at the ultra rare card then, Divine Destinies. And this card will now, this card, I don't think there's any change. What it does is to create a Light Power Gem 2 at the start of the next 3 turns. And so actually, like after you activate it, nothing will happen. It only starts on the next turn. And it will actually, apply the buff if there are 50 or more skill points. So there's a less requirement for the skill point, whereas the support card, which we're going to take a look at, will require 100 skill points. So we've seen this before. Now, my personal thinking is, I don't know why we are seeing this for the 4th time. I would have really, really liked for them to repeat the Grail type deck, because that, I think, was one of the best type of mechanics for all players. For people who are, free-to-play players, I thought that was a really good one. This one is, I'm kind of tired of it. What did you think, NTM?
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you on this. It felt a little bit like, for any of the people that have been playing for a longer time, going from the Circasa deck back to after Domi. If you went back to Circasa,
Right, that's what it
Circasa was
feels
sort
like.
of the prototype for Domi,
Yeah.
and I felt Grail was really the imp- much better designed version of this deck, and I would have hoped we would have kept going with that.
Yeah.
Or a deck that's not a deck that I would refer to as the Commander deck now.
The Commander deck. This is sort of like we've had one in every affinity except for we've got Fire and Water, Dark, and Light. So the only one missing now is Earth. And so it's something that I'm not sure if they're just kind of thinking about just rolling out for all affinities. If so, I would have liked them to roll it out with the Grail one. But anyway, for completeness sake, let's finish the cards here. So the support card here will create a light gem, and on the 4th turn, if you have 100 skill points or higher, then it's going to create the buff. So the buff is what will cause your Master Collection card as well as your event card to then create more power gems. And they have a lot of shiny new things here. Look at that. You've got a chance for Master Hero with this deck, and we are going to talk about the fact that this is also a crystal event. All right, so we've got the event card, which is Inviolable Saturn. I'm not sure if that word means what I think it means, but in any case, I'm not gonna go there. Let's just talk about the event card itself, the battle skill. So it's it creates 3 power gem 3s. I believe it created 4 power gem 3s. In the previous iterations of the deck, so it just feels weaker in general. You get less power gems overall, but you can do it a little bit faster. That's the only thing I can think of. But I fail to see the reason why you would want to decrease the number of power gems. And also they're never going to release another light version of the Abarca deck, so there's really not that high of a requirement to have 4 power gems right off the bat. But still, this is how the Master Collection cards used to work, where they would create 3 power gems, and then they went to 4, and I think that was a good mix. Now dropping it back to 3 with the possibility of going up to 6 just means it's going to be that much harder for us to get our overkill bonus, which incidentally, again, we're going to talk about this as well, I'm not sure is as big of a deal anymore. So anyways, that's the deck here, and the fact that it's God, it makes it a good thing, actually. So what I wanted to show you is, I actually have a sort of a semi deck built up already, to just kind of taking a look at what we've got so far. And I actually, sort of invested in this deck when it had come out. Did you get this deck, MTM, the Golden Guardian with the Lustrous One deck? I forget the name of the Master Collection card for that event, but I did manage to get the ultra rare here, which is like Golden Guardian. That's a God card, and this card will actually create Power Gem 4s based on God intensity. So what's nice is, given that we've had a lot of God cards in the past, you could also run this type of deck where you could run up a 5 relics that increases God intensity, and then use the Golden Guardian to create multiple Power Gem 4s, and then that could then power up your team. That's one option if you wanted to. We also got the Lustrous one, which create basically it boosts Light God heroes, but only up to 50%. This is sort of like the preamble to the whole increase the attack amount for a particular hero by infinite amounts. And so this was capped at 50, but you could run multiple copies of those, and it did work pretty well for the event that it was in. But I'm just kind of playing around, but most likely I'm probably going to end up using the other version, other light commander card, which is the Primal Guardian. So that would be the card that I probably will be using if I wanted to get the Ultra Kill bonus. So MTM, what are your thoughts about this deck? Like you mentioned that it feels like a sort of comparison of Circasa to the Domi deck, and so is this a deck that you're gonna go after?
So the advice I've been giving people, because this is a crystal event, is that the first few tiers are actually a pretty good value in terms of the amount of master or ultra rune dust that you get. And so there's also the fact that it is fun to draw and have a chance of getting something good.
Right,
That does not happen a lot anymore.
right,
The best you can hope for is, oh boy, I got an extra support card that I might not even be able to evolve anymore.
right.
And so what I did was, even though I wasn't like super enthused about this, I bought to tier 3 of the master pack. I'll probably buy tier 2, 3 of the ultra pack, which, again, I'm free to play, so that's a lot for me.
Okay.
But I'm going to get a lot of dust. And hey, if I get something, that's awesome. If I don't, I'm not going to chase it. I would not recommend putting a ton of gems into this because that's what burns people, as we saw a lot last time.
All right.
You go through 7, 4, 5 times and don't get anything.
So did you end up getting the Master Collection card or anything good out of your pull in T3?
I did not.
Oh,
I got a couple of heroes I could dust, but here's the thing: I was okay with that
you're okay with it?
because it's relatively cheap,
Okay.
and I got a bunch of the master dust, and that's fine. That's
All
what I
right.
want in one of these packs. It's like a random chance.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you're happy with it. So I'm just gonna go back to the chat here. A bunch more people have joined us, and so I just wanted to say hello to everybody. So we've also got we got Nano and Karamudin, and also Catherine, Chimen Ong, and Naya, as well as Noelita. I think that's a Noelia. I'm sorry about that. And Tamara Lipeihua, Vicky, and we've got Shalian in the house, and also Elisa, Minra, Angelo, Arcadian, Sunday, and also Doug Carafini, Alan, all of the new people joining the stream here, and BBX. Thanks for joining us. So, one thing I was mentioning in my chat was, something similar. Like, I think I'm gonna go up to tier 3 as well. And as you said, it's a good way to earn some dust. Now, there is a master dust jackpot spin. I can't remember what the maximum is, but I believe the minimum amount of dust you get is 800 dust. And if you think about it in terms of what happens when you get a rune and it doesn't work to your favor, like a duplicate rune, you end up dusting it for 400 dust. And so getting 800, that means you essentially are getting 2 free duplicate runes with the first tier right there. And so definitely going up to tier 3 is a good investment because it's a total investment of about 1,400 gems. I did manage to save up my gems here, and so I am going to go to tier 3. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. My luck usually isn't on my side when I open packs, so we will see. I'm hoping for some golden back, so let's start with tier 1. Now, I have seen screenshots of people getting the Master Collection card on tier 1, tier 2, and finally tier 4, so we'll see. And so nothing on tier 1 right now. I would have been happy too if I got Holy Wing. Like I would have liked to get Holy Wing, but I don't. I don't know what I'll get.
So Holy Wing, not in that pool.
That's too bad. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
No Holy Wing for me. All right. So we've got.
Should we tell the people, because this is a really confusing one, that
Okay.
the affinity event pool versus the event pool.
Mm-hmm.
When you draw a event hero like a Slayer or a Commander hero, you will only have the old pool. Oh wait, I'm sorry. My thing is, did you pull it? Did you pull it?
I think I pulled it.
Yes.
I pulled it. Tier 2, everybody. Tier 2. Fingers crossed. It worked for the first time ever, and you saw it live on a stream. Tier 2, got my Master Collection card. Whew. With 1,000 dust to boot. Yes.
So this is the fun of Crystal. If you'd gone to tier 3, like, it would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, there's this big fancy backdrop and a gold back, and it's so cool.
Oh, it's so exciting to see that golden back. Like, I never saw it. I think this is the last event. All right, you guys didn't see it, but I pulled all the way up to tier 7, step 2, and I got nothing. And so getting on tier 2 here, that's pretty exciting. So I could see I could see why this is fun if you get it. But of course, I would have gone to tier 3 probably. And so, all right. Um, should we go for it? Let's go for it, shall we? Just one more, because I was gonna go to tier 3
Tier
anyway.
three.
Just fingers crossed for a second
It's a good
one.
tier.
It is a good tier because I do get, I do get one of these 3 heroes. I kind of want to save my gems at this point.
Do it.
Do it. Okay. All right. Well, people are celebrating in the chat here as well, so that's pretty exciting. All right, let's do this. And I'm gonna save enough for the ultra rare as well. So we'll go with this one, and I'll have enough to go to tier 3 for the ultra rare. But even if I don't get it, oh, I got it. This is crazy. Okay, I'm like literally using up all my luck with this. And
just so you guys know, T-Bone has secret evil dev hacks, and so
No,
that's why he's getting good luck.
no, I never get luck. That's the thing. I never get my luck. So I'm pretty excited for this. All right, so there it is. I opened up 3 tiers and I got 2 Master Collection cards. I'm pretty excited, pretty stoked about that. That is crazy. But that's not to say that everyone's gonna get the same luck. So I hope the same goes for you. And I just pray that we I just hope for the best of luck for you guys, because I was pretty lucky here, and I was glad to be able to share this with you guys. That's crazy. All right, so now let's also talk about the rest of the event. So that's the crystal event, right? So the whole thing is, if you invested up to tier 3, I actually don't remember. I actually didn't check to see how many dust I ended up getting there. I believe I saw 1,000 in the tier 2. I didn't pay attention to how many dust I got in tier 3. But if you take a look at the Light Master dust now, I'm up to 6,400. And I started with, I believe, just around 3,000. So I got at least 3,000 dust there. And so that actually helps. Right, that helps for future events where I might get runes and then I need some dust to help out. Because 6,400 dust right there, that is, about just 200 dust shy of. No, actually, it's more. I can get two. I can craft 2 runes right there. That's enough for 2 runes. And so this is sort of like the one of the reasons why it's good to invest in the early tiers if you can. And right now I have the ultra rare rune at 1,600. Again, if I go up to tier 3, if I get 1,000 each, that gives me 46, and that gives me at least 1. And also, I'm that much closer to crafting the ultra rare, the second ultra rare rune. So it's one of those things where you have to be able to budget it. Really, I think. I've seen just really bad pulls as well. Like I myself, last event, tier 7, tier 7 step 2, nothing, and this event I was able to get 2 of them, and so I'm pretty stoked about that. But also, this is going to be the event. If you take a look at the no, that's not the one I'm looking for. If you take a look at the newsfeed, it's also going to be the second event with quest rewards. And so wanted to talk about the quest themselves. I was actually trying to do some, let's see if I can pull this up. I was trying to do some numbers, and I believe I could still take a look at yes, I could still take a look at this here. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, sort of how much of a grind quest actually introduced in the game itself, and also what we could do to make it better. So I've given a lot of feedback. I gave my thoughts in the forum as well. And also just, I hope that they're going to make the changes that we all have been asking for. And I just kind of wanted to get your views as well. Let us know what you think. Tell us what you think about the quests themselves. Because personally, I've always thought that quests are good, except there were missteps, I find, in this particular iteration. What are your thoughts about the quest, MTM? I'm going to take a look at the chats as well, and then we're going to maybe answer some questions.
So if anybody read, I did an article on the network app, and I was also on episode 5 of Game of Zeros talking about quests, and I was super pro quests before they came out. I was really excited for just like the technological advancements they were going to have with them. But I do agree that like the actual quests that they chose were very grindy. And then you have that build the event deck quest where, if you end up just pulling one of those heroes, it will launch you past the end of the collection. And that's not really satisfying either. It doesn't feel like you earned it. It's just, oh, hey, I got lucky, and then I got all the other rewards, and it's done.
Yeah. That was sort of my problem as well. So like I I went through the event, and this is how I played it. So I'm going to tell you what happened. I actually didn't spend any gems. Well, I actually that's a lie. I went to tier 3 on the Master Collection card deck, and I bought the relic at tier 2. So I spent 2,400 gems total. But the thing is, I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out how I was going to get the runes. I think I managed to get the second set of the ultra rare runes here, right here. And then I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get any of the other, required points anymore. And this is really what people have a hard time with. The number of bosses required to get to that. I messed up. The number of bosses that's required in order to get to the next set of rewards was way too high, and so that was the problem I had. So I grinded out the Emerald boss. So if you take a look here, I actually managed to get my 540 Emerald bosses. I tried a little bit more. I ended up getting 610 at the end of it. That was the one that ended up getting me to the second set of the ultra rare runes. And then I also pushed really hard to get the 10 ultimate bosses, and also the one that was 250 guild bosses. That was because my guild really worked hard and did really well. But the 730 solo bosses is what got me close to the Master Collection card runes. And at that point, I was so tired. I was just so burnt out. I didn't know what to do until they came up with the Frenzy boss quest, and also they increased the daily quest numbers by, I think, 4 times. It was like 160 for 2 of the easy ones and 320 for the one that's like kill 9 guild bosses or something like that. And so after that was when I was able to get the Master Collection runes and then get my cards there. And then that's how I was able to build up the whole team. So I think the problem that I faced was that I felt like there was no way for me to get there. And it was just, I just felt a little hopeless. It just felt like if I didn't have the time to spend, I wouldn't be able to get the cards I needed. And so I didn't try as hard, although I did manage to, squeeze in about 3 hours or so on Saturday to grind it out. And so that was not good. And I hope that they change that. I hope that they've considered the amount of grind that is required and added more steps, like break up those number of quest points and put them into more steps. I think 3 tiers might be not enough. Maybe 4 tiers would be good, so that you can actually increase the difficulty at a slower pace. I think my problem right now, I think, is that the quest difficulty level increased way too high. Is that something you guys touched on as well in your podcast for Game of Zeros?
We didn't end up talking about the quests again because it was prior to them being released. So I was just really excited about how they could give multiple rewards for a single action, but unfortunately with the quest point system, they've ended up having to use crates again to simplify it. Mm-hmm. And so we were having these big discussions of, wait, where did that get removed? No, did that get removed? Where are my wisp shards? I don't know what's going on. So it's a funny thing because part of this was to simplify the game and make it easier, and you only have to look at one collection instead of having to talk about a tertiary collection. Mm-hmm. But part of simplifying it was adding the treasures, and you can't view the treasures, so that has created a new level of confusion.
Right. What I saw that is in the newsfeed is they're changing it so that some of the Catalyst gift rewards are now direct rewards. I guess what that was the feedback I gave too. I think in the last event, the only way you could get some of the catalysts was through gifts. Like you had to get your guildmate to give you a gift to evolve your relic or your event card. I'm hoping that what they're saying here is no, you're gonna be able to earn these through play for yourself without needing to require gifting from other players. So that's my hope here. And the other, so they really touched on some of the things I gave feedback on, just like put the runes, or in this case the dust, higher up. And I guess it remains to be seen how much dust you will get. So if we take a look at the collection heroes, so if you look at the collection heroes here, you get 600 for each of these. So let's go ahead and collect them all here. And I did get another copy of Orsang, so I'll be able to use them, and I'll probably end up awakening my 6 times awakened one, so I can get a little bit more damage out of that. I was kind of hoping for the event card, Actually, I don't need to, but I was kind of hoping to get another copy of Golden Warrior. Golden Warrior is pretty good
Oh
to
yeah.
be using here as well. So here are all the 6 here, and then we're just gonna wait for the support card here so that I could get at least a chance at in the beginning of the event, anyways. And I just play with it just to see how it works with the 6 6 power gems there. And so yeah, so I think that if they were to increase the total dust amount a little bit, I think that would help, because at least make it 800. Because I think if you just collect 400, it just I think I kind of know why they do that, because they basically treat each of those dust slots as if you got a duplicate rune and then you dust it. But it's just that if you don't buy into the packs and you just kind of are looking to get a card here, if you're free to play, that means you're not gonna get the deck. That's the thing that I feel bad about. And so they sort of shifted to, well, here's the excitement. Like, I was really excited for getting the cards up to tier 3, but then for those of you who don't get the cards in the tiers and then don't get it in the actual collections, then it would make it a bad experience. So that's the one thing that I think needs to be tweaked a little bit still. I think that this is the best thing we can do, is to continue to give feedback. What I will say is, I didn't really hold back in giving my side of my viewpoint, and I know MTM, you haven't either. You've been really giving good solid feedback on just what you think we need to do to make it better. And so the best thing we can do is to continue to give them the feedback and let them know how we feel. They're looking at the data, and they're looking at data from 2 different perspectives. They're looking at what they're calling the objective data, and that is one that they collect with metrics. And metrics is things like, hey, like, of all the players that are playing, how many people did this and how many people did that. Like, these are measurable things that they can do. But then what they don't get from that data is the subjective ones, and that is something that we can provide from the forums, from the official chats, something that we can do to give them that sense of, hey, we're really unhappy with this, or actually you're doing really well here, let's continue to do that. Like, I think that's the best thing we can do. Any other advice here you want to give, MTM?
I would just really like to echo that. I mean, I know it is incredibly frustrating posting feedback and just not getting a response, but I promise you, they really do watch the official channel, especially during business hours, Pacific time, US. And they do read the forums. It is diligently reported to the devs. It's looked over. Like, yeah, I know. I've done it too. It gets super disheartening, but like, it is the way that you can sort of make your point, and it does result in changes sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't lose hope in that, I guess.
Right. And so, I've said before, I'm generally more optimistic, and I always say that one of the things I can do is to give feedback, and I hope that they also watch some of these streams where I provide sort of my thoughts and in here as well. But I also try to give that direct feedback as much as I could as well. I'm just taking a look at the chats here, and I know some of you, Annabelle, I'm really sorry to hear that you bought tier 4 and didn't get any of the cards. And it's, I guess for every one person that gets the cards and are able to screenshot it, there's also that many more that can't. And so I got really lucky. I recognize that, and I'm really glad that I was able to share this with you guys. And just taking a look at the chats as well, and just kind of seeing what people are talking about. Of course, everyone's talking about the 1800 bosses. Now, this is a commander event, so there's no way they're going to expect us to do 1800 bosses just because we don't have the keys for it. But whatever the number is...
You say that now.
I say it now. I don't know if I would mind having unlimited keys in commander. I know you're against it.
Oh yeah, we need to have a giant roundtable argument about that someday.
We will get people sitting in a round table, and we'll pick sides. The unlimited key side versus the limited key side. We will see who has who comes out on top, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I generally just kind of feel like, hey, there is something to be said about the strategy involved in making best use of your keys. I definitely agree with that. But at the same time, it's, for people who are limited to using 3 keys to do their attacks because their team's just not good enough, what about them? Like, what options do they have? So, these are things that is really hard to balance, but I'm not going to go into too much of that because these are things that we can't really control. But talking about the next event, right? Thinking about the upcoming event here, my hope is that it's going to be easier than the previous event. The nice thing is it's going to be the same deck mechanic. And so at least you can sort of compare apples to apples in terms of like, hey, how much easier was it for me to collect everything compared to the previous event, given the sort of the same mechanics here. So we'll see. I'm hoping things are gonna be easier because that's gonna make your experience a little bit better, and just in general less grindy, feeling like you need to spend 6 to 8 hours a day to play. How much did you play again? Did you say per day?
Um, Gosh, Slayer, I mean, I probably played more than I play in a normal Slayer, but in a normal Slayer, I start on Friday and tag a couple of Radiants, get the entire collection, and then do Frenzy bosses.
Right.
So, that's probably not a reasonable amount of play to get the entire collection. I definitely ended up having to sit and tag a bunch of onyxes for no reason in order to finish the collection this
Yeah,
time.
I ended up
And
just
that was
doing
only
that.
because I got runes.
I
But
just ended up doing that with the guild boss. I figure if I'm gonna get the onyx bosses, I'm gonna do it with the guild bosses. So I tried as hard as I could to get them. But what I ended up doing was I ended up just focused. I ended up focusing on getting the cards. Once I got the ultimate form, I knew that I could actually just focus on the ultimate bosses, and that's actually something that's a good point here. One thing that I've noticed is that if you can hit ultimate bosses, you don't really need to worry about the solo bosses, and that's for sure the case in Commander as well. And so that's something that I think we need to be addressed here, because it really breaks that, it sort of really breaks the whole spirit of the game. I think like it's like if you have the deck, go for it, and then you can just get massive amount of points. For those of us who don't typically get the cards, then it's just endless, grinding the legend solo bosses, trying to get the next set of trophies and hope for the best with the ultra rare, the ultra kill. But we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I don't know what to expect, but based on the cards, it is the same mechanics there, so no surprises. It is light, so I personally always really enjoy life affinity cards. Like it's sort of like a personal, just like a personal thing. I really like the light decks. Like I think if you take a look at the light commander decks, that was also the first time where I got the Apollo deck. Apollo with Eternal Chronos. That was a fun deck for me. I used that for a long time, and so it's something that I enjoy using. BBX, just answering a question here. How many times have I gotten nothing? In the past, I believe every time I've done a pack opening in live streams, I've ended up with nothing. And it always ended with me grinding out the event until the very end, saving any little bit of runes I could, and just being really, sort of playing Tetris almost, about like where I would spend my runes, and waiting for the very very last one in the collection before deciding what to do. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. And this is the first time I was able to get something in the first couple of tiers. So very, very different, and got very lucky. So I'm going to just hold off on that. Somebody mentioned like don't waste all your luck, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna keep some of my luck and hope for the best with an ultra rare pack tomorrow. And so that's all. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover today. Is there something else? I just want to make sure that I didn't forget anything. Looking at the chat, I think we're just kind of talking about the quests themselves. Again, we've covered that a whole bunch. We've talked about the crystal events here. We've talked about the cards, and also just kind of some of the things to expect there. So again, if we can give a summary from MTM's perspective, investing up to tier 3 is not a bad idea, especially for the master collection card one, because you do get 500 gems back. So it's an investment total of maybe 1400 gems, and so that isn't bad given the number of dust you can't get. But the reality is you're probably going to be just using that to save it for the next event when the runes come back, right? Did I summarize that pretty accurately from what you said?
yeah, the one thing I would warn people about is that unfortunately Legendary Roadmap hasn't really been kept updated, and it didn't include that this was going to be a crystal event, so we don't know what future events are going to be. So be prepared for the possibility that the next water event and the next light event will also be crystal, and so you won't get the chance to use your ultra or master dust to get runes, but rather will have to use this new system of paying 16.8 thousand dust to get the master collection or ultra rare hero. And so just sort of keep that in mind when you're making your choices. For myself, I still think going to tier 3, 4 ish, depending on what you want to do, is a good amount of dust for your gems. Uh, but I don't want to see some people suddenly get super disappointed because they were expecting to use it for runes, and then that just doesn't happen.
Right, that is a good point, is that there is no guarantee that it's necessarily going to be a rune event, but I'm hoping that they would just kind of intersperse it a little bit, so that one event is a crystal event, and then another event is going to be runes, kind of like what they did. I think it was one crystal event and then 2 events with runes. I am hoping beyond hope that the next water event is going to be a rune event instead of a crystal event, because I actually managed to save up enough dust to actually craft a full Master Collection card, and it would have been really nice to not have to use it all up for one if I could help it. So yeah, that's a good point right there, and that's the other thing I've also given feedback on. They haven't updated the roadmap since it was introduced, which is really a shame. I thought that would have been a really great place for for information. And so I'm hoping that they update it.
Oh, actually, there is one thing that I would really like to plug if I could.
Sure, go ahead.
So let me just bring it up here 1 second. Do do do. Domino 76 has made a legendary art catalog that also has like here the types and certain basic information about events and heroes.
Okay.
I'm gonna link it in the chat here, and it is super cool. I'm really into this. I hope it takes off. If you've used my spreadsheet in the past, I understand it is not a terribly user-friendly thing for people that don't like spreadsheets. So if you're not one of those people that like spreadsheets, this is a very interesting option. I really hope it becomes better in the future. And apparently, I cannot link it in the chat because it gets blocked.
Oh,
but
does it? Okay. Put it. Send it to me. Send it to me, and I will make sure to include it in the description so that people can get access to it as well.
Okay, that works.
Right. Cool. So,
Right.
So I also just did a. Don't forget to do your legend trials again. A reminder: if you haven't, make sure you do your silver legend trials. You do get some pretty good stuff there, and I'm personally hunting for Pentart gems, and so that's why I go after Ozomatli, and it's there's also possibility to earn some gems from there. So make sure you do that. And I use I use an Ascended Ray because it will allow me to do my attack on the second turn. And so that is something to keep in mind there. So just taking a look here, and yeah, so we got feedback on quest system again. This is something that we're gonna have to wait and see. Like, continue to give feedback here. I think the quest is viable as long as they don't make it too grindy, which they did in the last event. So let's see if they make an improvement, and I'll continue to obviously give some feedback there. And just looking at the chat here, I think that probably sums it all up. And before I sign off, just wanted to say, MPM, thanks again for joining me here. It's always good to have you on board, and glad to hear that you are becoming more regular on GameOfZeros.com. And again, Game of Zeros is the podcast that Furion Cloud and KDC Esquire, who actually came on my stream a couple of streams ago, to they basically do discussions on a weekly basis about the state of the game, and so you can also get some more information there. And so that's pretty much it for this particular stream. I will. I'm going to try and do a video this time. I said I was going to do a last event, but I ended up getting so burnt out that I couldn't actually do a video. I couldn't bear the mind of, actually bringing out my phone to do another video. So I apologize for that. But between the streams, I am going to do something to talk about the cards and how it actually works. And then we will come back and do a live deck building stream with you guys on Thursday. So, so we'll see you at the time. Again, thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for joining me for the stream here. Thanks, MTM, for joining us. And I will see you next time. Take care, guys. Have a good night, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be. And I'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.